So again, welcome to the special GB Elections Town Hall. My name is Lira. I am the former GB chair from GB 2024, and it is my pleasure to moderate this event today. Today we have here two lovely GB candidates, Elvira and Iram, and we are going to proceed with the procedural explanation to understand what we expect from this meeting. So I will start with asking both GB candidates questions, and then I will indicate the time that they have to respond to the question. Then we will move from one candidate to another. The first questions will be general and the same for both candidates, and then I will have two individual questions to both candidates, different ones, to understand something particular about their manifesto that I formulated myself, and I thought that the network would be interested in understanding as well. After that, we'll have, again, two general questions, and then the last 20 to 25 minutes will be reserved for you as the audience to ask any questions that you want through the chat. So during the entire event, feel free to leave your questions in the chat, and then at the end of the event, I will start asking them. If there are any questions left that we are not able to address during the event, because the event will last strictly until 8 p.m., then feel free to copy-paste your question to Discord, where candidates will still be able to respond. And with that being said, let's move to the candidate introductions, and I will ask our candidates one after another to introduce themselves, to mention a little bit about their background, experience in EYP, and why they decided to run for the GB. And right now, let's start with Iram. For this, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Lira. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Iram Apaydin, and I'm running to be your 6th governing body member. A little bit, I think, about me that you should know is I'm currently working as a teaching fellow at Maastricht University, where I've been working for the last 2.5 years. So I hold a master's in public policy and human development that I completed at UNU Merit here in Maastricht. And I've been living in the Netherlands for the past 7 years, but I'm originally from Turkey. So my EYP journey started in EYP Turkey in 2016. And I then took on various roles within my national committee as the Human Resources Department first, Human Resources Director next, and then the President. I was the National Safe Person in 2024. And I also held the pleasure to be the head organizer for Summer Academy 2023 and Summer Academy 2024 as the head trainer. And so I was very motivated to always give back to this community, and having attended the last 2 summer academies, I felt like I could contribute a lot more to the capacity building portfolio that we have, especially from a governing body perspective. So I'm running for the governing body.
Thank you very much, Iram. Elvira.
Thank you, Lira. Hi, everyone. My name is Elvira. I come from Greece, and I'm 23 years old. I study food science and technology, and the last 5 years almost, I've been involved with EYP Greece, as with the EYP network. I have served as member of the working group on international relations for EYP Greece and also an academic coordinator. Then I was first elected as international relations officer, and whereas the BNC representative for the BNC meetings in international governance. I was also the delegations officer for that year. And then last year, I had the pleasure to serve as the vice president of the executive board. My portfolio was strategic development. And again, as I said before, both years I had the chance to follow international governance of EYP and attend multiple capacity building activities along with the REM. What truly motivated me to run for the governing body this term is my deep belief in EYP power to connect, educate, and empower young people all across the continent. I want to contribute to the strategic growth of the network, ensuring that national committees have the support they need, that leadership opportunities remain accessible as now and even more, and to strengthen our partnerships with European institutes and organizations.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Elvira. Now let's move a little bit more specific goals that you have as candidates for the GB. Maybe you can take a few minutes to specify what are your top priorities as a GB member in the future, and how do you see yourself contributing to the strategic direction and, of course, the development of the network. This time we can start with Elvira.
Great. Well, my top priorities are three, as they are mentioned in my manifesto, and there are also two other existing initiatives in the network that I would like to develop even more. Starting with my priorities, my aim goals. First is to strengthen the regional networks. As I said many times, the core value and ability of our network is to bring together people from various regions, cultures, and backgrounds with our support, international office supports, and governing body supports in order to thrive and create strong and connected communities. Then is to foster leadership and skill development, because the educational aspect that EYP offers is one of the strongest and most valuable things the program has to do itself. Then I am very urged about the strategic partnerships. To my eyes, they are not that strong as they could be with the brand name we have, and the creation of even meaningful opportunities for the EYP community with European institutions and other organizations is vital, I think, and we could increase by a lot our impact and reassure our voices are shared within but also beyond our organization. And then we have the revitalization of the capacity building activities and the supportive assistance to the international office projects. They both exist in a very good shape. However, the Summer Academy, the Training Academy, the Media Academy, the labs we have are training events that can be created in an even bigger and greater for long-term impact for the network and for the personal development of its EYP. And lastly, about the international office projects, again, there are a variety of projects with tremendous potential to create lasting change. And as a GB member, I would be way than motivated to support them alongside the EY peers, to promote them even more and engage the youth with important policymakers and institutions that support and understand the core values of the EYP.
Thank you very much, Elvira. Now moving back to Iran.
Thank you so much, Lina. So I think my main goals revolve around building a network that is resilient to external shocks such as COVID. Unfortunately, COVID-19 was a big part of my last year within my national committee, and I've seen firsthand how it impacted our network in terms of human resources and also budget. So I do want to make sure that our capacity building events survive long-term and are not really dependent on actually building physical events only. I think we've created...
Are out of this situation, this very nasty situation, quick enough, and we can have a full lecture room again.
Sorry. Yeah, so
we had a short intervention. Let's continue.
So I think the main priority that I would have would be about creating this resilient community, right? We already have a great community at hand, but I think there are certain areas that we can improve on. Specifically, building on my own experience within EYP, I've prioritized two main goals. The first one would be about the capacity building events. I feel like we do have good systems in place, like the Summer Academy and the Training Academy, but we do lack certain guidelines in order to ensure there's a standard met across the years. And I want to fix that. I want to work on actually enforcing and giving the respect that the Summer Academy and other training events we have at the network deserve. And I think we can do this by, putting the guidelines we have for the international sessions to also the training events that we have. And going beyond that, I also want to diversify these portfolios. I think it's very important that we open up these capacity building opportunities to the whole network. And engage their ideas in it. After all, we're a network for them that should work for them. And my second point revolves around setting a minimum standard across our whole network in terms of safety. This mainly involves making sure that the event safe people have a quite a minimum level of understanding of the policies we have in place, and they can actually ensure safety is being respected across the events. I also want to make sure that code of conduct is brought up back to the attention, right? I think code of conduct has become a paper that we sign in the recent years, and it doesn't get the attention it deserves. And that goes under my strategy of prevention is key when it comes to safety. So I want to work with the network to regain that trust that we might have lost along the way in the safety system we have, and ensure that we have a safe environment where everybody can participate in. And I will wrap it up with that.
Thank you very much, Irem. Now let's move to a question that occurs, the concept of transparency occurs in both of your manifestos, just in slightly different versions. So here I would like to ask you, how do you plan to ensure transparency in and towards the network as a GB member? And what is transparency really for you here? Let's start with Irem.
Yeah, so going with the two main points, with regards to capacity building events, I think transparency requires publishing selection reports. And that comes, like, we do this for international sessions. We have guidelines that allow the selections to be following a representative selection of teams, but we don't have this for capacity building events. So I want to work on publicating these guidelines so everybody knows who is being selected and how this selection is being done. And I want to make sure that we ensure there's a selection report at the end shared, so the whole network can know how many people has applied and who has gotten it for what reasons. I want to also include leadership in these selection panels, because I think they bring a different perspective in, and it would be important that objective decisions are being made. With regards to the safety, I want to make sure that there's a feedback system in place that would also allow the NCs to be informed about the complaints that are going on. I think this is quite important for them to know at least whether a complaint has been filed against one of their applicants for their events. They are the legal entities responsible for the participants participating at their events. And I feel like they deserve to know, okay, this person has an ongoing complaint against them at a massive grave case or not. I don't know yet how this system would work. I just want to point out that I want to work with the network to ensure there is a system of transparency within our safety system as well, that would still respect the boundaries of privacy, but also ensure, in terms of legal responsibility, people know what they're getting into. I think also by opening up our events of capacity building to the whole network and getting their voices heard, transparency goes a long way, right? We should be honest about what we can do and what we cannot do. And so building on that communication of open feedback with the members and the NCs would be a priority I hold as well.
Thank you. Elvira?
Thank you. In terms of transparency, I don't think from my side there is much to tell. As a board member twice, I've been very straightforward about the work I have been doing. And of course, as every volunteer in this network, in the administrative part of our organizations, I think it's both a pleasure and a responsibility to speak straightforward about the things you are doing and your progress with your respective portfolio. And this is what I plan to do already. And shout out to the newly elected GB board members, because I remember very clearly that the vision they have for the transparency, I'm 100% agreed with that. And already the transparency folder, the GB started following. It's a big step forward, and I'm 100% on the same page with them already. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's have one more general question before we move to the individual questions. So, as GB members, you will be working, of course, with other elected representatives, such as the GB members, the IO, and of course, the national committees. So, how do you think you would be approaching this collaboration, given the different leadership styles and working styles that you would have in the GB and across the network with other individuals? Irem?
Yeah, I thought Elvira was going to start, but yeah. So I think in terms of communication, what would be a priority for me would be to keep an honest and open communication from all channels. I feel like it's very important that the national committees feel confident that they can reach out to any of the governing body members in case they're running into issues. So I would want to push for a very welcoming atmosphere, I guess, with regards to external communication and also internal communication of members and the NC board towards the GB. And when it comes to working with other elected officials, I've had the pleasure to work with the international office twice now in leadership positions. And I do think that they have a good dynamic going on with regards to what expectations there are and clearly communicating these expectations with each other. So I would want to continue that. I think it's important that we understand the boundaries that each other might hold, and we build on actually creating this open dialogue between, okay, what can I deliver? What do I expect you to deliver? And as a GB board member that would also be joining later on, I think the 6 members should keep a flexible mind when it comes to choosing also the portfolios, but also the communication they lead, that we would be the ones getting integrated. So I feel like it's important to keep an open mind about the possibilities. And with regards to leadership, just keeping a positive mind into, yes, we can do, if we give our all and if we give our best, would be the best way to go about it.
Thank you, Irem. And Elvira?
I enjoy a lot working with international office staff and the governing body members. I think that far it has been a very nice experience, both as an NC board member and representative, but also from other scale, like the European Youth Event. It was a wonderful experience to get to work along with the International Office and the GB. And I think as long as we have established a clear communication line, and I've seen there is a respect and goodwill from all 3 sides, things will be more than fine, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvira. Perfect. Now let's move to the first personalized question, which is for you, Elvira. So you emphasized in your manifesto the importance of strengthening, as you said, the regional networks and empowering the national committees. So given that NCs have quite different resources and levels of experiences and of course institutional support, what is your vision in general to make sure that NCs can receive this support and start improving and doing better?
Thank you. I understand a lot why this is something that many people have questions about, because on the Discord I had many threads about this, even today. Well, to my mind, is pretty easy how we will strain the regional networks. There are national committees with a long history and a tradition on regional events, and others, for example, like my national committee, with very, very limited regional network. To support them, regional and local events, besides conferences, but also small workshops or EYP days, I envision allocated a monetary, human, and structural resources combination tailored to specific needs of its case. Again, could include small grants or co-financing opportunities to ensure national committees with limited budgets can still organize impactful and inclusive events. Of course, these co-funding opportunities would come from, again, one other goal I have, the external partnerships. then human resources could again be allocated in the form of small mentorship programs and collaboration with other national committees who have experience. And structurally, as a GB Mon member, I would create, again, help with the creation of toolkits and templates, as we already have some in the EYP members platform, but also to enlarge a GB folder like the transparency that just opened. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvira. And moving to Irem. So Irem, you proposed a more structured and standardized safety system, including certification of ESPs and mandatory code of conduct. But given that EYP operates as a network of volunteers and this issue of safety and welfare is already very challenging, how do you envision supporting as a GB member NCs and volunteers in this regard for it to be effective and feasible?
Yeah. So to give a little bit of context, I've based the second point of my manifesto based on my experience as a national safe person, but also when I was engaging with the national committees during summer academies, I felt like safety was a concern that kept coming up. This is also why we've included a safety track in the Summer Academy 2024 to ensure that all of the NCs actually have a better understanding of the guidelines and policies we have in place. To go into this idea of the standardized version, the reason I'm suggesting that this would be a good way is, as an NSP, I've had to deal with event safe people that had various amounts of knowledge, which added a lot of stress onto me as a person, because I was thinking, okay, are they going to be able to do this? Are they actually going to be able to guide the people with the right direction and right mindset in mind? And I was getting a bit anxious over this, frankly. And I thought, okay, maybe since these people are already interested in becoming event safe people, we can ensure that there's a test that they do at the end, that they would then have to at least know the minimum required policies we have in place. So I can be a bit more confident that, okay, if anything goes wrong, they will know exactly whom they should contact and how they should handle the procedures. So this wasn't to then add more stress onto the NCs, but since the event safe people training are already being done, I thought, okay, maybe adding a digital knowledge test component to it and making sure that these trainings are available throughout the year. It will allow people to participate more in the safety discussion. If they feel like, hey, this is something I'm lacking, they can just go online and fill out this training too, and then test their knowledge based on this knowledge test. And we would also be guaranteed as national safe people and also NCs that there is a minimum standard being met in terms of demonstrated knowledge and understanding. So I would support them as a GB member by creating this with the SafeCore team and also the help of experts from external topics. I feel like I can also bring my own experience into it, given that I also take the social safety portfolio at my work, and I have been trained on how to design a test as a teaching fellow. So I feel like they will become handy from my professional life too.
Thank you very much. So the next question for each of you is very much about your vision of why you want to implement it and how it would happen, because it is something for both of you that usually is more for the IO to coordinate. So here you're bringing really your input. So I want to understand the rationale. Elvira, in your case, it is highlighting the importance of partnerships, especially with European institutions, other NGOs, and educational organizations. So what is your vision and how would you like to ensure this? Again, given that usually GB members rely a lot on the IO because they have the capacities, they are the employees, and they have the expertise. So what would be your vision and the strategy here?
My favorite question. Thank you, Lira. So, with such a brand name, the European Youth Parliament, it's honestly a pity not to demand the place we deserve in youth advocacy around the continent. It's very, very easy, and I know firsthand as a representative of my own organization, EYP Greece, the last 2 years, as invited from the Council of Europe, from the European Youth Parliament, from the European Youth Forum, they very much aspire a collaboration with the European Youth Parliament itself. And as we already saw very lately in the last BNC meeting, thanks to the international office and the governing body, we even had an officer from the College of Europe very willing, as a former ESNer, to appreciate and help present EY peers with their vision and their core values around Europe. The Euro bubble for EY peers is the easiest thing to access. It only takes time and very less effort. So my strategic vision would be, if elected, for external communications, because this is the portfolio that engages all them, is simply to approach 10 to 20 very, very popular and famous youth institutions and European institutions and youth organizations with very simple proposals to collaborate. And I think, and it's only our choice if we want to see this or not, to be accepted and be involved even with a permanent seat at the youth advisory board of the Council of Europe. It's a conversation we had already with the international office. There are many, many opportunities with an organization with our name, and I'm looking very forward to have the chance to represent our organization and build up on such collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvira. And now moving back to Irem. So Irem, you mentioned the proposal to restructure the timing of capacity building events for effectiveness and making sure that we manage to reach more participants. But usually with the scheduling, there is the issue of constrained availability, funding cycles, coordination across the network in general. So why do you think this is important and necessary to still put all the resources into that? And how would you plan to coordinate this?
Yes, thank you, Lira. So the reason I actually put this very specific point was, as someone that has been involved with Summer Academy for the past 2 years, I've had the chance to actually see that we're not reaching the network-wide reach that we are hoping for. So for example, in 2024, we had 25 NC being represented in Bern. In 2023, we had 23 NCs being represented. And in 2022, in Cork, we only had 18 NCs being represented. So while I think that this is still something, right, gathering around more than 20 NCs in one place, it doesn't meet the standards that we have set. It doesn't meet the standards that we have for the international sessions as well. And that is why we also reached out to the NCs with the help of the GB last year and the IO. And what they've told us was, first, the Nordic NCs expressed that the Nordic training is super close to the dates, so they cannot commit to the 2 timeframes to attend the Summer Academy. And second, there was elections actually happening during mid-summer, so that they couldn't know who will be coming to the Summer Academy. So there were some administrative problems that led to this. That is why I'm proposing that we build a more coherent structure in collaboration with the NCs that would allow for a network-wide capacity building event. And on top of that, we've also had a chance to work with Training Academy. And what we've realized is we can actually merge our resources super well. But because of the timing of the closeness of Summer Academy and Training Academy, we weren't able to do that. So I think if we create a complementary schedule with regards to capacity building events, a person that goes to the Training Academy and learns the theory behind giving trainings can then implement it in the Summer Academy or the Media Academy in that year without them having to wait more than almost 12 months to then participate. So that is my main vision, and that is why I am proposing such an administrative change actually initially.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Irem. Now let's move to one of the last 2 questions. And as everyone can see, I already asked you to start putting your questions to the chat, so we have time to gather as many as possible of them. Given that you already very well explained of what you want to work on, and given that the current 5 GB members made sure that the portfolio allocation is done preliminarily, so still a lot of things can change and they are waiting for one of you to join them on board. What will be, in general, just to summarize, your mission and goals to tackle during the first year that you think is important? Because let's not call it portfolio preference, because everything can be reallocated, but what are your major contribution areas that you want to see during this first year? Let's start with Elvira.
Great, thank you. Firstly, I would say external communications combined with strategic development. And then I would say capacity building activities and international governance. Here, I want to highlight something. Besides the external communications, the regional strengthening, the leadership skills development, the rebranding of capacity building activities we are talking about, and projects that I have been talking a lot during this campaign period, it goes without saying that I'm urged to reopen the discussions on GDPR compliance, to establish the international governance we aspire, to work for the international sessions best, and guarantee the safety across the network. But I am also very aware and confident to say that I trust a lot the GB members who have already envisioned the transformation of the above, which I highly support, and I will be there in every step to make sure everything is happening for the strategic growth and sustainability of the organization. My vision and my manifesto are focusing on what I am willing to contribute to the table as the 6th governing body member. Elements that, if you allow me to say, are missing from the work plan of the governing body for some time now. And I am committed for the next 1 or 2 years to prove you all with my engagement and my actions why it is essential to foster the confidence in the GB choices as a total. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elvira. And Irem?
Yes, so obviously my campaign revolves around the 2 points that I've mentioned that go straight into the capacity building portfolio and the diversity and equity and inclusion portfolio. So those would be, I think, the places where I can contribute the most, that I feel the most comfortable contributing. But beyond that, I feel like the active citizenship is a core concept that I can also participate in. I did a master's in public policy and human development at United Nations University in Maastricht, where sustainable development goals were at the heart of our research and at the heart of our work. I have created an SDG ambassador program with regards to it as well. So I'm quite interested and invested in creating active citizenship opportunities within EYP more. I also feel like this could be a unique opportunity to capitalize on in the upcoming years as well. The Sustainable Development Goals, as you know, we're entering the last 5-year push, and a lot of the United Nations organizations, along with EU institutions as well, are looking for projects to fund to actually catch up on the lack of commitment that they've had over the years. So there are a lot of new funding opportunities coming up starting from 2025 that I feel like we can also use to diversify our portfolio and ensure that there is funding going through the NCs to build more capacity building events and maybe diversify that portfolio. And beyond that, my ideas go quite hand in hand with Members Platform, and I feel like Members Platform has also been a subject that we've ignored to invest in. So I'm ready to push that back into the agenda, and it's a platform that we exist on, and I feel like it's time we upgraded it and we dedicated the resources to turn it into a system, a better platform that all of our members can access more freely, and maybe easily because it's not the easiest to find information at the moment and members platform. So I have big visions on that, but my first priorities would be one, with regards to safety, ensuring that there's a network-wide understanding of what we want to go. So this is my vision, but I would want to get the input of the NCs on board with that as well, working with the rest of the governing body too. That would be my main priority, to ensure that the decisions we need to take to actually implement a change in the 2026 period come in place in the upcoming BNC meeting, but also are being pushed on an everyday basis as well on the agenda.
Thank you very much, both. And now we'll be moving to the question in the chat. And dear audience, if you have more questions, please feel free to leave them. So the first question is from Matej, and given the latest examples of the outreach programs that we have, being involvement of the Arctic youth or specific project funds for individual NCs. How do you feel about the current state of the outreach programs in the network? And do you have any concrete ideas of what should be done or what should be done more to reach out to diverse communities and social groups in Europe? And let's start with Elvira.
Yes, thank you, Matej. It is true, and I'm looking forward to also see Rebuild Ukraine ambassadors all over our sessions, just like we see youth from the Arctic. With respect to the IO projects and activities, monetary resources could support scaling existing initiatives and launching new projects that align the strategic goals we have. Surprisingly or not, for our local and regional events, again, besides the NC projects and support fund the IO is offering, again, to strengthen this, I would suggest partnerships, but targeted. For instance, for funds regarding sustainability, again, some partners who are relevant with this, such as is for the Charter use in society and fundamental human rights, for the youth dialogue. So yeah, with structural resources, we could include enhancing communication channels and tools for cross-border collaboration, and again, to be inspired from other national committees who are thriving in that domain of outreach events, just like EYP Serbia itself, with so many outreach weekends and regional events. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvira. And Tiram?
Yes, I think outreach is a very important aspect of EYP and keeping EYP alive as well. I feel like it is not maybe regarded as important in every NC as it should be. So definitely trying to create more outreach events would be a priority, I think, for any governing body member as well. And some ideas that I have with regarding outreach programs that I think we can use is benefiting from the partnerships that already exist, right? Schwarzkopf Foundation also has another project called Understanding Europe, which I'm a part of for the Understanding Europe Turkey team as a peer educator. They reach out to schools, they deliver trainings to schools for free. And I feel like since we already have a system in place in some of our NCs, that would also be a good collaboration between European Youth Parliament and Understanding Europe to collaborate and see, okay, maybe we can reach more schools. Maybe we can use the idea of spreading this European identity across nations to actually get delegates into our events. Maybe we can host a one-day event in one of the schools we go in collaboration with Understanding Europe as well. So that would be definitely something that to investigate. And I know Understanding Europe team is also open to it from the recent discussions we had at the European Summer School. Beyond that, I think, like I said, sustainable development goals also allow for quite a flexible range of topics. For example, we have a feminist forum coming up in EYP Germany, and what they're planning to do is reach out to maybe people outside of EYP to also contribute and come to these events. So I think having topic-tailored events, maybe not necessarily just one-day events, but also EYP sessions might also help us welcome more diverse groups that are not yet in EYP to introduce them to EYP. So that would be a priority, I think. Existing relationships, looking into the partnerships, and creating more opportunities that are tailored to specific topics so that people would be more interested in joining our events.
Thank you very much, Iram. We'll continue with you for the next question, which is from Philip, who is trying to bring the fairness by asking the same question as was asked to the current GB members. So given that EYP strategy has this pillar of network that supports its volunteers and their personal growth, how do you want to support, promote, and recognize volunteers from lower levels up? So from all different backgrounds.
Yes, and thank you, Philip, for also bringing this up. I think first and foremost, the most important thing when it comes to recognizing volunteers would be involving them in our communication. I currently see a barrier with regards to international governance decisions being made and also the GB decisions and our everyday members. And I want to break that. That is also why during the campaign period, I have created an Instagram account where they can keep themselves informed, even though maybe they're not on Discord or they're not feeling comfortable engaging in Discord. So I feel like communicating with them and giving them opportunities to express their opinions would be a priority for me. And how to do that, I also propose diversifying our capacity building events and opening it up to the whole network. This would allow them to pitch in ideas they have that they would want to see us implement. And then they can get to vote on it. So kind of like what we did with the sustainable idea, but a little bit more formal, right? So that they would officially vote, like maybe in the GB election, and they could feel like they can pitch in any idea that they would want for their own development. Beyond that, I also think we can create new opportunities in terms of personal development that revolves around capacity building camps. I feel like if we choose a specific topic, such as maybe policy making, we can also enable them to get more academic content in that would help them in their academic growth, as well as getting the skills that would be necessary for, let's say, to become a policy maker in the future. So yeah, those would be my priorities.
Thank you, Iram. Elvira?
Yes, thank you very much, Philip. You know how I feel about this issue because one of the biggest strengths of the YP is its focus on skills development for young people, and I would aim to continue creating and even more opportunities for personal growth and leadership. I mean, these practical skills, the diplomacy, the teamwork, the conflict resolution, um, half of the peers, if not all of them, if they don't want, they are potential leaders for their communities and beyond. And I am committed within not the first month, but the first couple of weeks, if you allow me to become the sixth governing body member, I'm urged to contact with the College of Europe for such programs, either virtual or physical, in their campuses in Bridge, Natolin, and Tirana, but also with all the other esteemed universities and colleges I've been in all around these 30 YP events I've ever participated, because each and every one of these educational institutions that hosted an YP event, they understand our values and what we are working for as volunteers. And I bet definitely some of them would be more than happy to create some small programs or workshops or small courses to help the YPers have these practical skills certificated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we just got another question. So the question that is similar to the one with priorities that you've started. But Laura, I would like to know what would be the first thing you would want to accomplish as a GB member? So let's continue with Elvira.
Gloria, you know what I want? I want a valid recognition. I want a European institution to ask us to co-organize or host an event, an even bigger event than the European Youth Event. I want a prestigious youth organization or another institution to do a collaboration with us. This is the first thing I want for our external communications. I want something big, something that says EYP exists, is a network of thousands of young Europeans all across the continent. Uh, it's a big movement, and I want something enormous. This is what I want. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elvira. And Iram?
Yeah, it's hard to follow that, but for me, I think it would be the first step would be to show that I'm serious about transparency and about the vision that I've built. So given that we've just selected the head trainer for Summer Academy 2025, and we are in the process of selecting trainers for the Media Academy, I feel like pushing for the publication of these selection reports would be my first step in terms of capacity building. Second step would be to make a proposal or start preparing a proposal with the Safecore team and the GB with regards to the safety mechanisms that I'm proposing, so that we can have a topic of debate at the upcoming BNC, and that all of the NCs could have a space to actually talk about these things. I know they seem small, but I also think it's very important to show to the new, as a new governing body member, that I am serious about the goals that I've set and I'm ready to deliver. So those would be my first things that I would want to accomplish as a governing body member.
Thank you very much. Dear audience, do we have any more questions? If yes, please send it within the next few seconds, would be great. Otherwise, I think we can start slowly moving to the closing of the town hall event. And I will just ask both of you to deliver maybe final message, something that you want yourself or the audience to take away from you as a candidate. It can be very much, again, related to your goals, or it can be purely motivational, whatever you want. Iram, if you would like to start.
So I think I've built my portfolio and my manifesto based on the things that I think I can bring to the table. I would love to work for the network and in the capacity of a sixth governing body member. I feel like I have learned a lot from the network since 2016, and I feel like I am ready to take on the role of being a representative for the whole network. I have worked with several NCs with regards to the last 2 years, and I'm excited to work with even more. And I want to really stress that I know the points that I'm making are very specific, and maybe that's not very common in the GB elections that we've seen. But the reason I'm being very specific is that I have a vision that I want to implement, and I want to be also very realistic about the changes that can be made. I know that change takes time within EYP, especially when it comes to topics like safety that require a lot of stakeholder involvement. And I want to show that I am being realistic about where I think our network can go and what I think we can do within our network. And I really, really, really am committed to working. I do work as a teaching fellow, but I only work 4 days a week, which gives me an extra 1 day to fully dedicate to EYP. Not to say that that's the only day I would be working, but I think my social capacity and also my professional capacity does really equip me well for this role. And I would be very happy if you could give me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iram. And Elvira.
Thank you, Irem, and thank you, Lira. I am beyond happy and passionate to be a candidate. Let's start from there. I am determined to see how we can go forward together, improve and make good on the appetite for the meaningful change that exists in the moment. I am a big believer in democracy and transparency. You already know that if you know me. As a former NC board member, I am fully aware of the ups and downs of the role, and I understand full well how good you understand the perspectives from your national committees, its members, and the issues. And I want to be there for you. so that you can always turn to the governing body and say, Elvira is there, and the other 5 are there too. And trust us to make meaningful progress based on your insights and experiences. Honestly, I rely on your judgment regarding who is the most suitable candidate for the International Board of the European Youth Parliament, and I highlight the International Board because every candidate's perspective has different priorities and points of view. I believe in you, and I believe you as a national committee, boards, and also as individual EY peers, you will make the best choice for our network. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elvira. And thank you firstly to all our amazing audience joining us this evening. And thank you, of course, to our great, very experienced and very motivated and motivational candidates who have very specific ideas, which just shows how much they have willingness to contribute. So dear audience, please make sure that you vote during the upcoming elections. Please open Discord and leave your questions on Discord for Elvira and Irem in case you still have any questions so they can respond. And on that, I wish you all very, very lovely evening. Please rest and please think about your choices and your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining, everyone.